So, are you an expert with a really powerful message, but you feel like you're just stuck shouting into a local echo chamber? Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down a system that's designed to take your expertise, your message, and just amplify it, moving it from a small local group onto a truly scalable global stage.
But before we get into the how, let's talk about the why. What's the end game here? For so many of us, the real goal isn't just about growing a business. It's about achieving real freedom. We're talking about the freedom to control your own time, to earn without a cap, to work from pretty much anywhere, and to build something you're actually excited about. The system we're about to unpack is really built to make these feels feel less like a dream and more like something you can actually achieve.
Okay, so the very first step is to ask a really honest question. Where are you playing right now? We're going to use this great metaphor of two different sandboxes for your business. Figuring out which one you're in right now, well, that's the absolute key to unlocking your global potential.
And this slide really lays out the difference, doesn't it? It's a huge contrast. Over on the left, you've got the local sandbox. This is your immediate network. Maybe, say, 140 people who already know you, like you, trust you. But your growth is pretty much capped because it's all based on activities where you're trading your time directly for money. Now look at the global sandbox. We're talking billions of people you haven't even met yet. And its foundation isn't those finite activities. It's built on scalable assets that are out there working for you 24/7.
So the big question is, how do you make that leap? How do you get out of the local sandbox and into the global one? This is where something called the influence flywheel comes into play. Think of it as a strategic bridge, a system designed to methodically turn your expertise into influence that can scale all over the world.
The flywheel itself is actually pretty simple. It's made of three interconnected parts. You've got the platform, which is what creates that first impact. Then you have the multiplier, which, you guessed it, amplifies that impact. And finally, the engine, which monetizes it. Each part builds on the last, and together they create this amazing cycle of sustainable growth. Let's look at how they all work together.
Imagine for a second that your expertise is a stone, and you drop it into a perfectly still pond. Well, this system is designed to turn that initial splash into ripples that just keep expanding outward until they form a steady, powerful current. This analogy is just a perfect way to picture how each piece of the flywheel builds on the last to create some serious, unstoppable momentum.
So let's start with part one, the platform. That's the stone. And a perfect example of this is a podcast. See, a podcast isn't just about creating media. It's really an act of leadership. By hosting these meaningful conversations, you create that initial impact, you build authority, and you dramatically, and I mean dramatically, shorten the time it takes for people to trust you.
But to make this work, it really does require a big mental shift. It's not about being on a relentless content hamster wheel or trying to be everywhere at once. It's about shifting your focus to just hosting valuable conversations. This conversation-first way of thinking is what builds those deep relationships, and that's what creates the real momentum you need for global reach.
Okay, now for part two, the multiplier. So you've dropped the stone, what's next? The ripples. This is the community that starts to form around your platform. And a community is what turns your one-way message, your broadcast, into a dynamic, living network. It amplifies your reach through word of mouth and all those connections you can't even predict.
This quote just nails the difference, doesn't it? A podcast, or any platform, creates an audience. They listen. But a community creates momentum. They engage, they share, they participate. Your platform grabs their attention, for sure. But the multiplier is what gives your message legs by turning those passive listeners into active advocates for what you do.
And finally, we have the engine. This is what creates the current. This part, which often looks like online courses, is where you capture and structure all of your expertise. It gives your community a clear path to go deeper with you, it monetizes the value you're creating, and it builds a sustainable, repeatable model for growth. It's the whole shebang.
Now, the real secret sauce to this whole system is what's called the nothing is wasted principle. Think about it. A single podcast conversation isn't a one-and-done event like a networking lunch. It's an asset. That one conversation can be sliced and diced into articles, social media clips, and even material for your courses. It guarantees this massive return on your time and your effort.
And all of this, really, it leads us to the most important part, the core mindset shift of this entire system. It's all about moving your focus from activities to assets. This is the absolute fundamental difference between just being busy and actually strategically building long-term value. Let's make this super concrete. Activities, right? Things like networking meetings. They start and then they end. You have to show up every single time to get any value out of them. But assets, things like a podcast episode or a video or an online course, you create them once and they just keep on delivering value, building trust, and generating opportunities long after you did the work. One has a ceiling, the other just compounds over time.
So, as we wrap this up, I want you to ask yourself this one thing. Is your expertise just making a temporary splash in a small pond? Or are you building a flywheel that creates a powerful, lasting current that can actually change the entire pond? Because your journey from local impact to global influence really hangs on that answer.